Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Not sure how that happened. Hello and welcome from Northern England here. This is Career Coach Rod coming at you for your Thursday live event. And tonight I'm going to talk about one of those like gnawing fears that a lot of people have. Will AI replace me? So drop me a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight, because I have clients all over the world: Australia, New Zealand, Western Europe, U.S., U.K., all kinds of places. Always interesting to see. Healthcare is kind of a great uniter, right? Because the conditions don't change when you're in different places. They take the same treatment, they take the same course. We just have different resources to get things done. Um, so, will AI replace me? That's what a lot of people are thinking about at this point. Let me make sure my mic is good. So, will AI replace me? And um, specifically, I want to share why the opposite is actually true and why AI is making clinical professionals more valuable, not less. So let me know if you've ever worried that AI is creeping in everywhere and it's going to creep into healthcare and take away your job. Might change it, but it's not gonna take it away. So let me tell you about my transition. Um, when I left bedside nursing, that was a big decision. It was a big deal for me. And I was terrified that I was throwing away everything I'd worked for, everything, like all of my training, all the rest of that. And my family thought I was crazy. They said, "You're going to forget everything. And, what if you need to come back?" Because they were banking on it just being sort of a bust kind of career. I was kind of afraid they were right. What scared me the most was I genuinely believed that my clinical skills would just poof, disappear, like they had an expiration date of some sort. I'd wake up at night and I'd think about like all of those hard-won skills and instincts and all the patterns I was used to recognizing amongst patients and that sort of thing. Um, and uh, it really, would they just evaporate if I wasn't at the bedside anymore? Like, how long would it take for them to go away? These sort of irrational thoughts sort of plagued me. But what actually happened when I moved into digital health, my clinical credibility didn't disappear. It became the most valuable thing I had. Surrounded by tech people, none of them know a thing about taking care of patients, and you become, as any kind of clinical professional, you become the voice of the patient. You become the authority in the room. It's a tremendous feeling. It's a great responsibility. So right now, the AI reality that we're not talking about, um, there's a massive push to implement AI in healthcare, right? There's new government regulations that have come out in the US, in the UK, in Western Europe, in Australia. New regulations coming out to say how AI can be used, how AI should be used, those kinds of things. All that comes before they say you must, right? But taking it down a notch, just to the vendor level, Epic announced that their native AI ambient listening tool was going live in August. A huge investment going into these systems. But what actually happened? So, if you know Epic, Epic is like a 500-pound gorilla, right? They tell their clients to jump, and their clients say how high. It's really it's a very strong culture within Epic. Um, but what's actually happening right now is here in the UK, the NHS tried to roll out AI diagnostic tools across 66 hospitals, and by June of this year, 18 months after they were supposed to have been done, a third of those hospitals still weren't using the technology in clinical practice, and they were supposed to be done with the rest of the hospitals by this time. Not working, not going anywhere. Why? Because senior clinical staff had major concerns about accountability. if AI missed a diagnosis or made a decision without sufficient clinical oversight, what do we do? How many patients are we going to harm? That sort of thing. And those ambient AI listening tools, 71% of the physician practices are using AI for patient visits, but only 39% said it actually reduced their workload. So only 39% said it was actually any good, and they're only using it in a limited fashion, right? Um, According to Fierce Healthcare, their take on it is that the technology is impressive, but it's failing without clinical professionals to guide it in. It's a big deal. It's a big difference. So your protection instincts that you get from being a clinician, you go to work and you stick your neck out for patients, right? You put your livelihood on the line every time you make a call. It means you've got skin in the game, they've got skin in the game, and it gives you a strong protection instinct. The tech world doesn't understand that. They don't understand that when clinicians resist new technology, it's not because they're afraid of change. It's not because they're afraid of the technology. It's because they're protecting patients. It's those same instincts to catch medication errors, question unsafe orders, be a patient advocate when systems fail. It's that same instinct that's going into any kind of resistance that technology companies find. They think we're being difficult, and we are, but it's for the sake of the patient, and you're not going to get past that. You got to prove it, right? AI can't fake this because it doesn't have emotions. You can't hire a consultant to give you 10 years of bedside experience, and you can't manufacture the judgment that comes from managing complex patients. When I work with AI implementations now, my biggest value isn't tech skills, and I got a master's in computer science. Nobody ever asked me about that. It's that I can spot when something will fail in real clinical workflow because I've lived it. I can look at an AI algorithm and say, this will miss patients who present atypically, because I've seen those patients and maybe I missed it the first time. And, a more experienced nurse or doctor said, whoa, this is just atypical, but here's what's really going on. We have that fear that the AI won't rise to that level, and something's going to get by and someone's going to get hurt. So when you're working in digital health, when you're working with AI, what really happens to your clinical skills? Well, let me tell you what happened to my clinical skills after leaving the bedside for being a nurse. My pattern recognition got sharper. Instead of spotting deterioration in 5 or 6 patients in a shift, I now identify those same kind of problems, but at a systems level that affect thousands of patients. Safety awareness expanded for me. Rather than catching errors for one patient at a time, I designed the system to catch errors and prevent errors at scale. So here's an example. Like I remember going into I was a registry nurse in the Los Angeles area. I remember going in and taking report from my patients, and then I did my pink and breathing test, walk through all the patients' rooms, see how everybody's doing, and I found one of them on the floor in contractures and non-responsive, and that's because she had a blood sugar of about 30. She was having a really bad time, and that was because nobody decreased her insulin as her steroids were being tapered out. Those kinds of errors, right? Well, why can't we have a computer look for those kinds of errors? That's preventing it at scale. Hopefully it never happens again. My communications, they became translation. So explaining complex situations to patients and anxious families, that evolved into bridging the gap between developers, tech people, who've never worked a shift in their life, and clinical staff who are protecting their patients. So my skills didn't disappear. They multiplied. Their impact multiplied. It's kind of a big deal. The bridge that healthcare desperately needs is people like us, people like you. This is healthcare organizations right now. They're scrambling because they know they're going to need AI, right? It's not mandated yet, but you can see it from here. But they also know AI implementations fail without clinical oversight. So what do they do? How do they bring these two worlds together? That's the state of affairs right now. The NHS, an NHS study found that the major challenge was engaging clinical staff who already had incredibly high workloads and expressed skepticism about using AI without proper understanding. Sound like anybody you know? Sound like anybody you know maybe personally? According to bioengineer.org, companies are paying premium salaries for clinical professionals who can bridge this gap. There's a £100,000 a year epic nurse position in London. That's like 5 or 6 times the typical NHS pay. It's a huge difference. Why? Because you can't fake clinical credibility and you can't shortcut the trust that clinical staff give to someone who's lived in their reality. Every healthcare system that's successfully implementing AI at this point has clinical professionals leading the charge. CMIOs, CNIOs, clinical advisors, the ones who understand both worlds. And understanding the world of AI or understanding the world of automation doesn't mean being a programmer. It means being able to use the tool, being able to get out of it what you need. In the same way that you might not be a mechanic, but you can drive a car, same sort of thing. There are cars that need to be driven in the clinical workspace. So here's my message. If you're worried that AI is going to replace you, flip that thinking. AI needs you. Healthcare technology is desperate for clinical professionals who can protect patients while enabling innovation. Your clinical credibility, it's not just valuable at the bedside, it's becoming the competitive advantage in digital health transformation. The question isn't, will AI replace me? It's, am I ready to discover how powerful my clinical insight really is? And you may be living in a clinical world where you're thinking you know people who have like true clinical insight, and that's not me. This last week, one of my favorite clients, she brought all kinds of clinical insight by suggesting that the system also calculate fluid balance, and that I's and O's should come from anything with inputs and outputs that are liquid. Like, it's not gigantic, PhD level clinical thinking. It's paradigms that you walk around with all the time just in order to function at work. So if you're curious about making a transition, DM me Bridge or something, and I'll send you my free digital healthcare career roadmap. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'm trying to watch the chat on multiple places at one time at this point. Makes it a little interesting. But let me know. And if you have comments or questions that you're afraid might be impolitic, don't worry, I've heard it before. And you don't need to say it in front of everybody. It can be just in a direct message, that sort of thing. And let me know. Because AI is coming. It's definitely coming, and it's coming a lot faster than the digital health revolution initially started at. It has the steam to be here and in all of our lives in the next 2 to 3 years, but it needs us in order to be successful. Don't forget it, and don't underestimate yourself. If no one has any questions, I'll go ahead and sign off for the evening. I do have a little client meeting here in about 45 minutes. So looking forward to talking to everybody. Looking forward to you making these shifts like I did. It's a whole world running parallel to the bedside, and it's all still in healthcare. It all relies on your clinical training, your clinical judgment. It's just right there. It's barely an inch away. So let me know. Give me a message, email me, DM me, whatever you need. Happy to see everyone again next week. And if you have topics you want me to cover, just let me know, and I'll get into those. If not, then it will be the same thing that's on my blog, which is on my website, which is down at the bottom of the screen. So happy Thursday, everyone. I'll see you next week. Thanks.